That leaf curled into a tube. Not wilted, curled. That's your tomato plant doing something deliberate, pulling its leaf edges inward to reduce the surface area exposed to the sun. It's a survival move, and most gardeners see it, grab a hose, and make everything worse in about 30 seconds. They think they're helping. They're not. I've done it. You've probably done it. And by the end of this video, neither of us will do it again, because once you understand what's actually happening inside that plant and inside that soil on a 95-degree afternoon, the right move becomes obvious. The wrong move becomes something you can almost feel in your hands the moment you reach for the hose. Let's start with the one mistake that happens at the worst possible time of day. Picture this. It's 2 o'clock. The sun is hammering down. You walk out and your tomatoes look wrecked, drooping, leaves curled, everything sagging. And you think, they need water right now. So you water. Here's what actually happens. Bare soil can easily reach 130 degrees or more at the surface. You dump cold water on it. Much of that water never reaches the deeper roots where it's actually needed. What does make it down arrives as a temperature shock. The sudden temperature swing stresses the roots immediately. It's not frost damage, but the plant reacts like something just went very wrong. Meanwhile, wet leaves sitting in intense afternoon sun aren't doing your tomatoes any favors. They stay hotter, stay stressed longer, and create conditions that disease loves. The result? Scorched leaf tips, dropped blossoms, and a plant that spent the hottest part of the day fighting off the water you gave it instead of surviving the heat. Simple fix. Water before 9 in the morning or after 7 in the evening. Morning watering wins. The soil has time to absorb moisture before it gets hot, and the leaves dry off before humidity spikes at night. That brings us directly to the second problem, because timing is only half of it. If you're watering every single day during a heat wave, I want you to try something tomorrow morning. Push a wooden skewer or a stick 6 inches into your garden soil right next to a tomato plant. Pull it out. Is the bottom third damp? Most people find it's bone dry past the first 2 inches. Daily light watering trains tomato roots to stay near the surface, right where the soil is hottest, right where it dries out first, right where any moisture evaporates before noon. A tomato with shallow roots is completely defenseless in extreme heat. It has nowhere to go. What you want instead is deep roots that reach 12 to 18 inches down, where the soil stays cooler and holds moisture through the afternoon. You get those roots by watering less often, but much more thoroughly. Give each plant 1.5 to 2 gallons, 2 or 3 times a week, depending on heat and soil type. Slow enough that the water actually soaks in rather than running off. Water slow, water deep. Then let the soil partially dry out before you water again. That drying cycle is what pushes roots downward in the first place. Now, you've fixed your timing, you're watering deep, but the soil surface is still bare, and that's its own problem. The root hairs that actually absorb water and nutrients, the fine, almost invisible ones, begin losing efficiency as soil temperatures climb into the mid-90s. And bare soil gets there fast. We're talking 140 degrees or more at the surface on a hot afternoon, and well over 100 degrees at 2 inches deep. So even if you're watering at the right time, in the right amount, those surface root hairs are struggling. 3 to 4 inches of straw or dried grass clippings laid around the base of each plant drops that surface temperature by 20 to 30 degrees. The soil underneath stays moist longer, root hairs stay functional, and your plant isn't spending all its energy just staying alive. One thing to watch: don't pile mulch up against the stem. Leave a 2-inch gap around the base. Wet mulch pressed against the stem is a direct invitation for crown rot. And don't use fresh green grass clippings in thick layers. They mat together, block airflow, and can actually trap excess heat as they decompose. Dry straw, aged wood chips, or dried grass work best. This next one surprises people. You go out at 8 in the morning, timing is perfect, you're watering deep, you've got mulch down. And then your tomatoes still wilt hard by noon and take hours to recover. If you're pulling water from a well or a cold tap, the water temperature might be sitting around 50 to 55 degrees. The soil near your roots in summer is 75 to 85 degrees. That 30-degree swing is a cold shock to the root system. The fine root hairs become less effective at pulling in water. The plant hits a brief absorption crisis right after you watered it. The solution is low-tech. Fill a 50-gallon barrel or a large trash can, leave it in a shaded spot in the garden, and let the water sit overnight before you use it. By morning, it's settled to somewhere around 65 to 70 degrees, and the roots accept it without flinching. It might feel like one extra step, but it's the difference between a tomato that recovers by 10 in the morning and one that sits in stress until evening. Sprinklers feel satisfying. They cover everything, they look like rain, and there's something almost restful about watching the water arc across the garden. But here's what you're actually doing to your tomatoes. You know that brown spot you found last week, small, with a yellow halo sitting on one of the lower leaves? That's early blight getting started. Alternaria kicks in when leaves stay wet for more than a few hours at temperatures between 75 and 85 degrees. Late blight is even less forgiving. Once either one gets established, you can't reverse it. But you can stop it from spreading. Strip those affected leaves off right now, bag them, don't compost them, and switch to base-only watering immediately. Direct the water to the soil. Soaker hoses, drip lines, or a hose held low and aimed at the base of the plant. Leaves stay dry, blight stays out. The old advice about watering every 2 to 3 days was written for mild weather. At 95 degrees with low humidity, a tomato plant can lose a full gallon of water through its leaves in a single afternoon. Your watering schedule is based on a calendar. Your tomato doesn't own a calendar. Here's the thing about that curled leaf from the beginning. Remember how I said it was a deliberate move, not just wilting? That's still true. Mid-afternoon leaf curl and heat is normal, and you should not water in response to it. The plant is protecting itself. It's fine. The real signal to watch for is morning droop. If your plants look wilted at 7 in the morning before the heat of the day starts, that's your cue. The soil ran dry overnight. The backup check. Grab a handful of soil from 4 to 5 inches deep. Squeeze it. If it forms a loose ball that holds its shape for a second, there's enough moisture. If it crumbles apart the moment you open your hand, water today. 2 data points. Morning appearance plus a soil squeeze. That's your actual watering schedule. Last one, and it's counterintuitive. Your plants look stressed. Leaves are pale. Growth has stalled. Fruit set is low. The instinct says feed them. They need nutrients. But under heat stress, the fine root hairs that absorb fertilizer have already reduced their activity or shut down entirely. Phosphorus uptake becomes less efficient when roots are under severe heat stress. The plant simply can't process what you're giving it. What actually happens when you add fertilizer to dry, hot soil? The salts in the fertilizer draw moisture out of the roots through osmosis. You came to feed the plant and you ended up pulling water away from it. Hold off on any root zone fertilizing until nighttime temperatures drop back below 70 degrees and the plants look like they're growing again. If you want to give them something during a heat wave, a very diluted foliar spray, calcium and micronutrients applied in the early morning is absorbed directly through the leaves and bypasses the stressed root system entirely. Follow label rates, apply before 8 in the morning, and let the leaves dry completely before full sun hits. None of those 7 mistakes are about giving your plants too little water. Every single one involves water applied at the wrong time, in the wrong way, at the wrong temperature, or to the wrong place. Tomatoes in extreme heat don't need more water. They need better water. Timed right, delivered deep, warm enough not to shock the roots, aimed at the soil and not the leaves, on a schedule set by the plant and not the clock. That curled leaf at the start of this video? That was your tomato doing exactly what it was supposed to do. The question was never whether to water, it was when, how deep, and with what. Get those right, and a heat wave goes from a crisis to just another July. If one of these mistakes sounds familiar, drop it in the comments. Tell me which number. I read every one, and it genuinely helps me know what to cover next. If you've got someone who's been watering their tomatoes at 2 in the afternoon all summer, send them this. They'll thank you when August hits. And if you want to go deeper, There's a video right here on rescuing tomatoes that have already taken heat damage. The signs are specific, and the recovery window is shorter than most people think.